Happy Chanukah and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. I want to start with an interesting story that took place around 40 or 50 years ago when the menorah was first lit on the White House lawn, and the Rabbi Shem Tov, Senior, welcomed the President of the United States, I believe it was Carter, to light the menorah. Now, you had many millions of people that were watching, and we're going to honor the President of the United States light the menorah. But somehow, he was unable to ask someone that's not Jewish to say a bracha. That wasn't possible. So he thought of a genius idea on the spot, and he said, I'm going to honor the President of the United States to light the shamish, the middle candle, the one that's going to light all the other ones. And the one that's the candle which lights everything else is, in a sense, even more important than all of the other candles, because it actually ignites everything else. And so that's actually why the shamish is taller than the other candles, because in a sense it has a greater mission than all the other. We find something interesting when it comes to Chanukah. That is that there are different ways of observing the mitzvah. One way of observing the mitzvah is to do the basic law, that we light one candle every night. That's the minimum. The next step up is to light every night, to add one candle over the one from the previous night. So last night we lit 4 candles, and tonight we're going to light 5. The best way to light the menorah is that every person in the household lights every evening lights an additional candle. So that basically is called in Hebrew mahadrin min ha-mahadrin. Mahadrin means to beautify the mitzvah even more than anyone else has beautified the mitzvah. Now, when you walk around in Yerushalayim, in other places in Eretz Yisrael, you have different levels of kashrut, for example. You have a kashrut, which is a basic kosher symbol, certification, and you have some kashrut which are which are more. It's called mahadrin, to be extra careful and to beautify the mitzvah. Then you have, even by kashrut, who don't necessarily have this idea, but it's another idea which can be called mahadrin min ha-mahadrin, beauty of the beauty. And so we don't really find in standard mitzvahs, tefillin, every mitzvah has a way to do it in the basic level. I call it plan A, which is doing the halacha properly, the way it's supposed to be done. And then there's to do lefnim mishurat hadin, beyond the letter of the law. But you don't necessarily find a clear-cut idea that everyone, or almost everyone, does mahadrin min ha-mahadrin, the best way to do the mitzvah in the most beautiful way. Not only mahadrin, to do it beautifully, but mahadrin min ha-mahadrin. It's like it's a wish. It's a prayer. When you have a Chabad house and you have Baruch Hashem people that are coming closer to Yiddishkeit, and you try to teach basic halacha, and so it's really important to give people not only the best halachic way, but also to do beyond the letter of the law. It's a wish that people should do a mahadrin min ha-mahadrin. But over here by Chanukah, unlike any other mitzvah, we find that the most common, the way pretty much everybody does the mitzvah, if you ask anybody in the street or even someone that's not necessarily observant per se, but they do the mitzvah mahadrin min ha-mahadrin. So if so, what is so special about Chanukah that Chanukah we do the mitzvah mahadrin mina mahadrin. And the explanation is that the Maccabees, the family of the Kohanim, when they waged war against the Greeks and against the Mityavnim, those unfortunate Jews that went along with the Greeks, they could have easily made a rational calculation, and they would have said that, there's no way by nature that we can ever overcome the huge army of the Greeks. And so let's just give up. But they realized that when you're fighting Hashem's war, you're not fighting it alone. You're fighting Hashem's war together with Hashem. And no one can be stronger, no one can overpower over Hashem. In other words, they could have done the letter of the law, but they decided to do the mahadrin, lifnim mishurat hadin, beyond the letter of the law, to connect to Hashem on a much, much greater level. And so therefore, the way we celebrate the mitzvah needs to be also, we're celebrating the miracle. This also needs to be in a way of mahadrin, mina mahadrin, doing in the most beautiful way. We find a similar concept when it comes to Yosef. In last week's parsha, we read that Yaakov sent Yosef to go and bring the other sons back home. In a sense, it was going to instigate them because they didn't really like how much Yaakov loved Yosef and treasured him. On the way, Yosef meets a guy, but he met an ish. That's what the Torah says. He met a person. Our sages teach us that it's Malach Gabriel, if I remember correctly. And he said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to meet my brothers." He says, "They're going to kill you. They're planning to kill you." And he said, "I'm going to," and he still continued to go. So the obvious question is, why did he continue to go? If someone is going to be killed, there's the mitzvah of honoring his father, that his father told him to go call them, is overridden by the fact that he's going to save his life. So according to halacha, if you look at the dry halacha, so to speak, the basic halacha, he had no obligation to continue his trip. He tried his best. He did what his father asked him. But the moment that he found out that they were planning to kill him, then he should have just made a U-turn. But no, he continues. Why? Because Yosef, he didn't only look at the letter of the law. When you look at the mission, when you're going to fulfill Hashem's will, so then there is a concept of going all the way till the end. And he said, "I'm going to listen to my father, and Hashem will help me." And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, he was thrown into a pit, but he was saved. Not only was he saved, but he became the viceroy of Mitzrayim, of Egypt. So therefore, we see that sometimes we need to act in a way of not just a letter of the law, and not just beyond that, but mahadrin, mina mahadrin, the most beautiful way of observing the mitzvah. I might have to stop the class in just a minute. The message that we have is that we should be able to fulfill the mitzvahs and observe the mitzvahs not only on Chanukah but also after Chanukah in the best possible way. All the best. Happy Chanukah.